Hey guys, Mike here from Panther Hollow Sporting Optics. As you notice in front of me, I don't have a gun, I don't have a scope. We're going to talk about a few things dear to me, which is hunting. I've done a lot of hunting, hunted a lot of deer, coyotes, you name it, and I pretty much hunted it here in Missouri. So we're going to jump into some of my favorite whitetail tools. And that's what I call them, is whitetail tools, because if they're tools that you use, then they're probably successful tools. Everybody's got a toolbox, and in that toolbox there's some things you use a lot, and there's some things that you don't use at all. They're just in there. So we're going to separate a little bit of fact from fiction based on my viewpoint and my 40 years of hunting. Okay, so I started hunting when I was 10 years old. Really hunting, I played around with 22s and stuff before that, but my actual real hunt was when I was 10. So I am 50 now, and I'm going to show you a few things I've learned over those 40 some years of deer hunting, and we'll go from there. Stand by. All right guys, there in front of me we got a standard, this is called a messenger bag. This is made by UTG. I've had this for several years. This is probably my fourth bag I've had like this. It's very comfortable. It slings over your shoulder. It's got one strap, and you can see I've got a kind of get off me knife right there. So we're gonna go through what's in this bag and why those things are important. Okay, so first off, picking a bag. There's 511 gear. There's all kinds of bags out there. There's guys that carry backpacks and all that other stuff. Now, if you hunt out of a climbing stand like I do, this is your best option. It's my best option for me. Let me reword that. This is the best option for me. This is what I found works the best. I can put me some water in here. I've got my binoculars in here. I've got my rangefinder in here. I have my dopey, and I have my cover scent. Okay, so some of the things I use, so obviously we all know why we use dopey, right? You get into the field a little bit, the woods, wherever, you spray a little bit on a rag, and you walk to your stand. You're creating a trail for a buck to follow. Now there's several different brands. Tinks is one that I like, that I've used a lot of. It doesn't matter, there's a lot of good dopey out there, but Tinks is probably the one I gravitate to the most. Okay, now cover scent. So this is red fox urine. So I'm going to tell you guys, deer are not afraid of foxes. I spray it on the cuffs of my hunting clothes, and I spray a little bit on the sleeves of my shirt. And if I bump up against anything, it's kind of covering the scent of me and replacing it with red fox urine. So cover scent is very important. That's one thing I use a lot. Is it optimal for somebody else? I don't know. I don't know your hunting situation. I'm just telling you, down here in southern Missouri and in northern Missouri and probably anywhere else, this works just fine. It's got to be a familiar smell for a deer, something that a deer is not intimidated by the smell of. Okay. Binoculars. Your favorite kind of binoculars. 8 or 10 power is plenty. You want to be able to bino the woods and bino the field and see what's going on. This is just standard stuff that I carry in my bag, and I carry it in there all the time. rangefinder. Now this is a set of Leica rangefinders. This is the Rangemaster 2000B. Now I have these because I do a lot of long range shooting, and these are multi-purpose for me. I use them for bow hunting, I use them for rifle hunting, and I also use them when I shoot ranging in long matches, playing, whatever the case may be. A pair of good rangefinders, and I'm going to stress the word good. A pair of good rangefinders is very important. With rangefinders, guys, it's buy once, cry once. It's that simple. Buy you a good set of rangefinders, buy you a good set of binos, and they'll last you as long as you don't break them, I guess. Or if they got lifetime warranty on, maybe you can get it replaced. The next thing, obviously, is going to be a knife. This is just a standard. It's still got some venison on it there, but it's cleaned plenty of deer this year. That is a K-bar. That's just a standard. Any kind of good hunting knife works, guys. That's just a K-bar. It obviously needs a bath. That just goes to show you that it's being used. The next thing, I always carry a backup knife in case I damage the edge on this, breaking ribs or whatever. That is my skinning knife. I had a guy make that for me a long time ago, but that is a version of a skinning knife. That's one of the things I always carry in the field with me, regardless of what I'm doing. So also, if you notice down there in the bottom of that bag, I've got a rain jacket. The reason I use a rain jacket is because a lot of times when it starts raining or whatever in the woods or gets uncomfortable, a lot of people leave, and that's why blinds are so can I say popular. But we're going to talk about blinds here in a second. So I carry a rain coat on my, it's actually a kind of a tarp that I carry at the bottom of my bag. I do this for if I'm setting in the woods, if the woods are wet, and also if I'm in my stand and it's just a little bit windy or whatever, this helps keep the wind off. Put it underneath your orange, and it actually acts as a little bit of a heat barrier. It kind of keeps the heat in because it's plastic, it's not noisy. This is just a $2, I think it was $2 and something for that jacket. I've had it for several years. It is ripped up, but it still works. It does everything I need it to do. So that's kind of the gist of what's in my bag, other than a flint starter. And I also carry a compass, which is just a small compass that's on the side of my bag here. It's just something super simple, something that doesn't freeze. The reason I have that on there is because I hunt on government property a lot, and I usually go back to where nobody else is or nobody else wants to walk. A lot of government property around here you can't drive an ATV or UTV in the good spots, so you have to walk back there, and that requires getting up early, getting back to your stand, and then getting in your stand, and I say tree stand because I don't use blinds. Get in tree stands, and you get above the deer's nose. Okay, that's what's always worked for me. I have several mounts to show that recipe works, including this year. So the next thing we're going to talk about is calls. Now this is just a standard grunt call that has, you can move the rubber band up and down the reed, and you can make different calls with it. A lot of times what I do is when I'm in the woods, I hear deer call, and I'll try to imitate that call. I'm not going to do anything that I don't necessarily hear. So there are tending grunts and all that other stuff, but I'll give you a simple example of what I hear in the woods. That is a basic grunt. All they're saying is, hey, I'm over here. Is there anybody around? And I reply, And I'm thinking in my mind, come over here, big boy. I want you on my table. So grunt call is really, really good. This is called the black rack. This is a rattle call. That is junk. I do not use those. I bought those because I fell into a gimmick. They may work 1 out of 500 times, and I am not exaggerating. Don't waste your money on the black rack. A rattle bag is a better option. I could not find my rattle bag because, quite honest with you, I don't use it that much, okay? So that kind of gives you an idea of what I carry in my bag. Success favors the prepared. Okay, I learned that a long time ago. My stepdad taught me that. He was an E5 drill sergeant. Success favors the prepared. Okay, if you're not prepared for what you're getting ready to do, if you're not familiar with the area that you're going in, then it's all luck. I mean, it's plain and simple. It's just luck. A lot of guys say deer season is luck anyways, and that's half true. So this is kind of an idea of what I have in my bag. We're gonna go back to the table here for some final thoughts. Stand by. All right, guys, we went through the bag. We talked about some stuff that was in the bag, and I made a mention to blinds. I don't use hunting blinds. They're a little gimmicky, and I'm gonna tell you why. Blinds, when you set a blind up in an area, you might as well be setting up a beacon that says I'm here, because you're changing the environment, okay? You're changing the environment in which deer run. Now then, that doesn't mean that you're not gonna set up a blind and you're not gonna see little deer or young deer, because you will. I mean, if you're in an area that's highly populated with deer, you will probably see them. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not gonna see that blind and they're gonna know that you've changed something in their area. You're in their bedroom, you're in their living room, you're on their property. So this is why a climbing stand or a ladder stand, and I really don't like ladder stands. I mean, they're okay, and they're less impactful. Let me say that, how I say that. They're less noticeable than a blind, okay? So blinds are okay if you're teaching young ones how to hunt and you're just out there to kill a small deer, and that's what you're after. If you happen to get a shot on a big deer out of a blind, that blind has had to have that blind has to be in that area for a long time. Natural blinds, which are like brush piles and stuff like that, work really well. I've also built blinds out of cedar trees. So you cut the limbs out of cedar trees and you stack them up. It also works really well for cover scent. So natural blinds are way better than blinds that you purchase. They're kind of like that black rack there. They're kind of gimmicky. You're changing that environment. Now, the blinds you see that are on stands that set up in the air, I mean, yeah, you're changing that environment, but that's also more of a permanent stand. So they're going to get used to that. Possibly, if you're after one deer and you put a big portable blind in there and he's back after that's been installed, then he's a dummy. It's that simple. He's not a real smart deer, which, you know, there are some big dumb deer out there for sure. So anyways, those kind of deer are the deer I'd like to hunt, but they're just far and few between. A lot of those big guys get big because they have a noodle in their head and they understand their surroundings and they understand what danger is and what it isn't. So you have to outsmart them. And how you do that, how I do that, is I climb high in a tree, I use my cover sense, I sit still, I be quiet, and I only do calls that I hear. I don't try to fabricate some weird calls. You know, I've heard guys in the field go. I've never heard a deer do that. Never. I do basic standard calls. That work. that call works. That call means, hey, I'm here, come see me. Or hey, come over here, let's fight. I've seen that call right there have two different outcomes. Hey, come over here, or hey, come over here, let's fight. Some guys do the buck snort, I don't know, whatever. I don't get into that stuff. I do what works. What works for me is put plenty of mounts on the wall and put plenty of deer in the refrigerator. So, blinds, if you like them, great. They're more about keeping the wind off of you in the rain than they are really about hunting, okay? They're just designed to keep you in the field longer than being successful on a big trophy deer. Big trophy deer will notice those things, and it is what it is. That's my 2 cents on blinds. Calls, there's a lot of good. This is just a cheap call. You don't have to spend $200 on a deer call. This works for me. I've had plenty of deer come to this. I have actually had deer, I've actually shot, the deer run off, and I've made a few calls with this, just a basic call I'd done, and the same deer came back, the same ones that left. So the doe come through, I let her walk because she was breathing hard or she was running, and I knew there was a buck chasing her. I waited for the buck to come in to see if he was worthy of being shot, size-wise, and if he was, I would take him. And then I also have a doe tag to fill, so my next step would be, well, let's see what happens here with him, make sure he's gone, expired. I get back on the call, and the same doe that was being chased comes back in, and I take her too. I don't know why it works so well, but it does. All right, guys, so let's talk about cameras. So you remember the statement I made earlier in the video that success favors the prepared, okay? That is something that I've lived by pretty much all my life. My dad told me that when I was very young. He actually told me that when I done my first job interview. He was very particular about having a button-down shirt, and the buttons of your shirt has to line up with where your pants meet up, where in the button on your pants has to be all in line, and you need to have a straight collar, and you need to be clean cut. So I'm not as clean cut as I used to be, but anyways, so success favors the prepared. I went to that job interview, I got the job. I was prepared. Same thing when it comes to hunting, when it comes to going after big deer. Cameras are a very important part of that. So you set your cameras up, you set them up in a wide range. You do your homework, you figure out where the guy's bedroom is, and there's pretty much telltale signs about where the bedroom is. A lot of the scrapes on trees, or rubs on the trees and scrapes on the grounds, however you want to put it, when they mark the ground or they rub a tree, that is pretty close to their bedroom. We had several trees in the area that I was hunting this year that were big trees that were marred up, that we knew we were close to Stick's bedroom. We knew we was. We put the cameras up. We got footage of him. We knew he was in that area. We didn't know how long he stayed in that area, but we knew he was in that area. And we didn't know the path in which he traveled. We just knew that he was visiting one camera quite often. Okay, we didn't know which way he'd come in. We were just guessing. So I knew the wind that day. The wind was blowing in my face. When he was up on top of the hill, the wind was blowing in my face. I knew that would be a good way to go into that area. I went to the area, I climbed in the stand. The stand was loud and clunky, as you've seen in the videos. But just so happened, he was bedded in the field on the hill from where the stand was. He was in an area that he had a lot of cover. He had a lot of cover over to the right side. If you see that the video of the does running through on my previous videos, that far right side was real heavy cover. I killed him on top of that hill, 390 yards. So he had good cover, and he had 3 fields full of food, and he was by a pond. Plus, he had all the ladies there. That farm we hunt right there has a lot of does. So he had everything he needed. There was no reason for him to leave. And so we set up on him. We figured he was going to be in that area. We had 2 stands strategically placed to maybe even just to see him. We were hoping just to see him. And lo and behold, first morning at 8 o'clock, he rose up out of the grass, and now he's with me. I done a whole video on a scope that has a BDC reticle in there. We went over that reticle. We figured out how to figure out our drops. We lined it up on a piece of paper, and we made the shot on that buck. Again, I'm gonna say it again, 390 yards. That's the furthest I'd ever shot a buck that big, and that's the biggest buck I've killed to date. So I go back to this again. You know, being prepared will bring you success. Okay, so just like everything I'm showing you here, and in the same way with this video, I'm trying to share how I do it. If you hunt public property, there's not a lot of guys going to share the secrets of where they go on public property, because it's a highly regarded secret. It's just something you have to figure out. I've got a few guys I've told where I go hunt. I've taken a couple guys where I hunt on public land, and the deal is, if you start telling a lot of people, they're going to tell their friends, and pretty soon it's not going to be a secret anymore, and pretty soon there's not going to be any big deer back there. So you got to do your homework. Homework is key on finding big deer, unless you just get lucky, unless you just happen to have a farm that has a big deer on it, and which I don't have. I have to hunt land, public land, or land that's in the family, and then you get to see a big deer, and you get to kill a big deer and mount a big deer. Or you pay for it. You pay to go hunt on a ranch somewhere. I don't do that. I've done that in the past, pig hunting, and guys, it's not hunting. You can turn a feeder on and they come to it. I mean, if you've never had experience hunting, it's not hunting. You're sitting there and you're shooting an animal that's coming into food. You're not. I like the thrill of the hunt. Okay, that's not thrilling for me to kill an animal that's coming into a feeder that's been turned on. That's not how I like to do it. Now, there's some guys out there that do it that way, and if that's your game, man. I just say you need to sharpen your tools. So, anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching. I had a few emails about sticks and about the things that I carry, and I've talked to a few guys on the phone, and so I decided to do a short video about the essentials. If there's essentials that you use that you think that are a little bit better or a little bit different than what I use, man, drop me a comment down there. I don't know how much this video is going to get watched, because it's not normally what I do for video, but I do a lot of hunting. That's my primary thing. That's the reason I target practice so much. So always remember that success favors the prepared. It really does. It's just a fact of life. So if you guys have any questions, you can email me at pantherhollow@mail.com. I'll get to those emails, and if need be, we can have a phone call. Guys, I always like to talk about hunting. I do a lot of hunting, and I do more shooting than hunting, just because the main animals that I hunt, the seasons aren't that long. So I tend to do more shooting, and I try to be prepared to have that success. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you're watching this video and you like it, give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you like this content. This is just something that I normally don't do. You guys have a great week or weekend, however this video finds you, and I hope the Lord bless you in everything you do. You guys have a good one. Thanks for watching.